well, for instance, if they were to go into the country and stand up and decry the status quo and say, this is wrong, this is apartheid, you should do this or you should do that, or I believe this or I believe that, you will be shut down, you will not be listened to. Even the short period of time when I was there in 2007, 2008, I tried to speak to people from time to time. And as soon as I crossed that border from being visiting pop star pats Israel on the back into visiting pop star asks difficult questions about the status quo, it was like steel shutters going down behind everybody's eyes. So I have witnessed myself the difficulty of trying to have a conversation with a population who've largely been under a state of living in propaganda 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all their lives since they were born. They look at you as if you're mad. I spoke to film students in Jerusalem and I said to them, how many of you have seen Heart of Jenin? It's a documentary film about a Palestinian child who was killed in Jenin and whose body parts were distributed all over Israel. And they looked at me if I was mad. And then when I pursued, of course, none of them had seen the film. This is a film school in Jerusalem, right? None of them had heard of it, never mind seen it. And I said it was absolutely required viewing for them. And I then asked their tutors, how many of you have seen it? Silence. What I got was, I got a steel wall of absolute blank uncomprehension. So that's my answer to people who say we should go there and sit around the campfire and sing songs. No, we shouldn't. We should observe the picket line. Well, first thing, anybody who's tempted to do that, like our friends in Radiohead, if only they would actually educate themselves. I know Tom York's been whining about how he feels insulted that people are suggesting he doesn't know what's going on. Well, Tom, you shouldn't feel insulted, because if you did know what was going on, you would have a conversation with Ken Loach. And I look forward, if you feel like it, when you've finished your trip to Israel, because you probably still will go, write me a letter and tell me how much good you did and how much change you managed to affect. I would rather die than roll over in front of an apartheid state like Israel has become, particularly in the occupied territories, where this is a country that is occupying a neighboring country illegally and has done so for over 50 years now. And to not stand up and protest that just because it might be inconvenient in some way. I know I'm rambling now, but I feel very strongly about it.
Explain hasbara to our audience.
Yeah, I believe it's a Hebrew expression that means, literally translated, the explaining. But what actually is, to me, it means, in my translation, it means the propaganda machine that Israel uses to persuade people that black is white and, and white is blue and yellow is red and anything, to persuade people anything other than the reality of the fact that they illegally occupy another country and other people's land, and have done for the last 50 years. Well, 50 or 70, it depends upon your point of view, clearly. But we can't go into 47, 48. Well, we could, but I think it might be best not to. But, the thing about propaganda, which again, it's hard not to go back to Goebbels or to the 30s or whatever. You understand that the tactic is to tell the big lie as often as possible, over and over and over and over again, and people believe it. As you've said recently, I'm touring in the United States, explaining to people what the reality is of Palestine and Israel in the United States is very difficult, because they have been living in this constant Hasbro created by AIPAC and the Israeli lobby in the United States, or all of them, their whole lives, when they say, oh, but this is terribly complicated. No, it isn't. This is not difficult. This is one group of people have stolen the lives of another group of people, and they have to give it back, or it has to be taken back.
But it's not the only oppression, and it might not even be the harshest system of oppression around the world. Look around. There are much worse systems of oppression. So why have you joined BDS? Why have you joined a boycott of Israel and not a boycott of some other country that might have a harsher system of oppression?
Well, you know, I'm not sure that there are any much harsher regimes around the world than this, actually, if you look at it, but you may well be right. To answer it for myself, you haven't been listening. I do complain about other regimes. I do complain about the treatment of people in other countries. I am really concerned. I'm particularly concerned about Syria, and I'm very concerned about the Ukraine. And I'm not demonizing the Russians now. I don't want to go and have a World War III with the Russians, unlike most of the people I run into in the United States at the moment. The apartheid in the occupied territories and the lack of any democracy in Israel itself. They claim to be the only democracy in the Middle East and so on and so forth. Well, it's not democratic because the citizens of the state of Israel do not have equal rights. A lot of the people who would have a vote in Palestine, in 48, if you like, Israel, what's now called Israel, were kicked out. So you can't call a country democratic if, in order to create a majority, you have to remove the people who were actually the majority when the country was created. Well, you wait till nobody in the world will play soccer against any Israeli team, and that is coming. Believe me. There are many, many Jewish people who are deeply, deeply disturbed by the state of Israel and by what's happened under the leadership of the Zionists there, who say this is not what Judaism is about. We are a loving religion. This is not who we want to be. We do not want to crush others for our own benefit. That's not the God that we believe in. The most common counter-argument I hear is, are you insane? That'll be the end of your career. They're going to kill you. You can't do that. You'll never work again. That's it. I have seen the different colored number plates, dopey. At a certain point, there is no question, but on my agenda somewhere is a United Artists for Palestine concert. When the Free Mandela concert and the anti-apartheid thing was very much aimed directly at the white supremacist government of South Africa at the time. And so if there was if I did a concert that had the words apartheid in the title, it would almost certainly be aimed at the oppressive Israeli regime, if you see what I mean.